Hello, I'm Daniela, and I work in the space of emotional mastery and relational literacy, which really means how we understand ourselves and how we relate to the people we love. Today, I want to talk about one of the most quietly damaging beliefs in love. The idea that if a relationship is right, it should feel easy, effortless. Most of us absorb that belief without actually realizing it. If it's the right person, it should be effortless. If we truly love each other, we shouldn't have to struggle. If I'm with someone who truly gets me, they should just understand me. They should know what I need. And then real life arrives. Things get hard, conflict rises, and that belief kicks in like a verdict. Something must be wrong. Something is wrong with a relationship, something is wrong with them, or something is wrong with me. What most people actually never question is the belief itself. And here's what I want to offer in today's lesson. The problem is rarely what is happening within the relationship. The problem is the expectation. The myth of perfect relationship, it's not just unrealistic. It's one of the most reliable ways to destroy something genuinely worth keeping. And we learned it from everywhere. From the movies where love conquers all in 2 hours, from love songs that stopped at the falling in love, and from the early part of our own relationships where everything actually did feel that way for a while. But that early ease of the relationship, that's just the honeymoon phase. It's beautiful, it's real, and it's neurologically extraordinary. But it's also temporary. It lasts maybe 1 year, 6 months, 1 year. The relationship actually begins after that. And most of us were never told that. When the honeymoon settles and the real friction arises, we interpret it as evidence that something is wrong, that we chose wrong, that love is fading, when actually in reality, what is happening is simply that two people grew up in two completely different emotional environments and now they're sharing a life together. Two different ways of handling stress, two different relationships to closeness and distance, two different unspoken sets of rules about what love is supposed to look like and what it asks of us. And that is not failure. That is just reality. And it's completely workable, but only if you stop expecting it to disappear on its own. Healthy relationships are not conflict-free. They are repair capable. The strength of the relationship, it's not measured by how smooth it feels. It's actually measured by what happens after disconnection, whether two people can come back to each other honestly, with care, with willingness to understand each other instead of defending themselves. And this is what I mean when I talk about conscious relationship. Not relationships where everything flows effortlessly and perfectly. Relationships where two people have the awareness and the tools to move through the difficult times without losing each other in the process, that's where the beauty lies. In my experience, both in studying this for over a decade and actually living it, there are 3 capacities that determine whether a relationship can hold real life with conflict and friction. The first one is repair. The ability to return to each other after tension, after conflict, after distance, and actually meet each other again. Repair is what keeps the small everyday ruptures from accumulating into something that at some point could feel unsurmountable. Without this, the little conflicts, the little friction silently stack up. Love is still there, but the distance keeps growing. The second tool is emotional awareness, the capacity to notice what is happening inside of you before you just act on it. This is the heart of emotional mastery, not suppression, not performance, but genuine self-knowledge. A feeling you cannot name will run the conversation in your subconscious. A feeling that you can name gives you choices. The third tool is honest, careful, loving communication. Being able to say what is true to you without escalating it. Being able to listen without immediately defending yourself or accusing. Knowing how to stay in the hard conversations rather than going quiet, shutting down, or escalating. Repair, emotional awareness, and honest communications. These are the three most important tools, and they're not personality traits. They are skills. Skills that probably none of us learned at school. Perhaps some of us learned at home, and all of them can be learned now. Let me see if I can give you some examples to bring this down. Let's think of a couple that had a rough argument and goes to bed without speaking. In the morning, they wake up and they never bring it up. Over time, that becomes a pattern. Nothing gets repaired, nothing gets said. The silence just feels normal, yet the distance widens without anyone naming it or sometimes noticing it. The love is still there, but the capacity to repair after a rough conversation was not there. Let's think of another couple and they're having the same fight. But the day later, instead of ignoring what happened, one of them says, this didn't feel good between us. Can we talk about what happened? That single invitation changes everything. It's not dramatic, it's a gesture. It's actually a small gesture. It's an invitation to start a conversation. And that small moment, repeated across years of a relationship, are what makes relationships strong, and they stay intact and alive for years to come. Let's think of another example. One partner expects the other partner to simply know what they need. One partner expects the other partner to know what they need. And when that doesn't happen, hurt becomes resentment. And resentment becomes distance. Nobody did anything wrong. They just didn't talk about themselves. And something that just needed to be said out loud wasn't said out loud. None of these signs are bad relationships. None of them means there's no love there. They are signs of a relationship that needs more tools than the myth of perfect love ever prepared anyone to develop. And this is exactly where intentionality enters. Not as control, but as a decision to tend to what you have built together. The willingness to come back to each other after rupture, to name what went wrong, what was unsaid, to protect the connection, even when it's easier to just stay away and allow it to drift. A conscious relationship is not one that avoids difficulty. It's one where two people have decided that what they're building together deserves more than the myth of effortless. This, for me, is devotion. And that devotion is a choice you make again and again for your partner, for the couple, and for yourself. Not just to the beginning, but always. And then when conflict arrives, try shifting the question you ask yourself. Instead of asking, why is this happening? Which tends to look for someone to blame. Ask instead, what is this asking from us? Every moment of tension is information about the relationship, about something that went unmeant, something that has gone unspoken, about where the relationship is asking for more awareness and perhaps a little bit more skill. And that shift alone from defense to curiosity changes the entire quality of the conversation. I'm going to invite you to think about a recurring difficulty in your own relationship that you have been interpreting as evidence that something could be wrong. What would change if you interpreted it instead as an invitation? The relationship is showing you where more skill, more honesty, more awareness, or more repair is available. And I want to say something personal here, because this lesson in particular is very close to me. I believed for the longest time that if love was real and was enough, the relationship should feel easy. And that belief did not serve me. First, in my marriage, when things got hard, I interpreted the difficulty as a sign rather than an invitation. And later in life, I was in a relationship that we had far more awareness and far more tools. And still, I lost it. In part because we both held the belief, the quiet belief, that if love wasn't true. Later in life, I was in a relationship where we had far more tools and far more awareness, and I still lost it. In part because we held quietly to the belief that if love was true, it should eventually stop asking so much of us. The myth of perfect love is one of the most seductive and one of the most costly beliefs I know, because it takes the exact moments when the relationship is asking us to grow and turns them into reasons to give up. It's heartbreaking. The strongest relationships I have ever witnessed are not the ones that feel the easiest. They are the ones where two people dedicated again and again to what they were building together because they knew it was worth the repairing, the speaking honestly, and staying even when things got hard between them. And that is a conscious relationship. That's what it actually looks like. It's not effortless. It's devoted. And I love that word because that's exactly what it means. You are devoted to your partner and to your relationship. Once we let go of the myth that a conscious relationship should be effortless, something else becomes visible. If you take one thing from this, the goal is not to find the perfect relationship. It is to build one that can grow with you. And the willingness to keep going back to each other even after something hard. That is what actually makes a relationship strong over time. If this resonates with you and you want to go deeper, Seeker Circle is a community built around emotional mastery, relational literacy, and conscious living. It's a space for growth, for real conversation, and for the kind of depth that most personal development spaces probably don't offer. Everything is freely available. So I'm going to put the links down below in case you want to visit the community. And if you continue in this journey, remember that the lessons build on each other, but you can also just go to the one that resonates the most for you. The next lesson, though, goes somewhere most relationship conversations never go, because the patterns that show up between you and your partner today are rarely about your partner. They are about something much older. And once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. I really hope this lesson served you. If it did, you can subscribe to the channel, you can like the video, and hopefully the next lesson will serve you too. See you in the next one.